All right, so I've talked about presidential privileges in the 28th Amendment section, but let's go into that in more detail here because I want to describe, and this isn't a weak thing or a negative thing to admit it. It's something that if you understand it, it allows us to build a stronger, more informed government model. The president is trying to represent the people, and that's a broad role. A lot of that has to do with foreign relations and representing what America stands for, and there are a lot of key pieces to that role already. Now, you don't necessarily want or need the president to be your ultimate economic strategist as well. You can actually have the partner represent, or the president represent the needs of the people and the desires of the people, and then you can have an economic strategist who works with the private sector, who is nominated by the private sector by a Fortune 500 board, and the president gets to choose the one that they want to work with. And through Strategic Pivot, there will be many CVOs building different proposals and pitches for how they will help solve the needs of the people that are being talked about in the political campaigns. And maybe they even have some great ideas that they'd like politicians to take note of because they believe that'll allow politicians to achieve their goals collectively, which is really the case in what I'm trying to present here. It's an overall strategy that everyone can see value in from different perspectives. So let's talk about these presidential privileges, because this is a company, it's an extension of each government. It's a path to world peace because every government can do this, and every government will maybe want to do it a slightly different way in how they partner in some of these levels, but this is a path to world peace because through the technology, people will be able to interact more with their government. Governments will be able to field and recruit great ideas and talent better, and every nation will have more access to opportunity. The people will want this now that if any nation shows how this can be done really, really well, other nations will want this, and it is a path to world peace without having to fire a weapon. It is a strategy for peace, and sort of you could call it a psychological weapon for peace because it's built for collaboration and access to opportunity and fostering deep conversation about how we move forward, focused on solutions, focused on building a better future. And it really dials all societies into that. And there are different technologies with a cyber force that this design enables. Other nations won't be able to really enable a cyber force like we have. Like a nation that has this plan will have. They'll have a much more advanced cyber force if they have a model like this. And so I need to add that here is the president gets a a Joint Chief of Staff for Cyber Force, and there are nomination strategies, and the military controls that, and the president gets to, I think, pick or approve of somebody. I think is how that works. I should do more research there. But they get to select the CVO Strategic Pivot. The CVO Strategic Pivot works on these interactive learning paths, which I haven't gotten a chance to describe yet. And this is a 3-minute video. That's what I'm going to get to in this page: introduction, overall vision, interactive documentaries and transcript system, and finally the interactive continuous improvement ecosystem and how these are all built on top of each other. And so the president gets that CVO for helping to highlight interactive learning paths and work between the education and private sector industries to build these tools to bring everybody in and up to speed on these complex conversations. And so it's two-part. It's trying to drive the skills development in the workforce and trying to drive for these next steps we make as a society, industrial policy-wise and otherwise. And they're also key to understanding industrial policy this way and otherwise. They're also key to, we'll skip that for now. It's key to raising awareness on the complexities in the discussion that we have to have in order to make these next steps. So it's building the skills in the workforce and raising awareness, building the tools to raise awareness on the decisions we have to make so that we can effectively make these decisions. And so that's what the president gets, to partner with that individual. And that'll be always a partnership between what the private sector knows is coming around the corner and the government's desires to maybe succeed at solving key problems as a government or as a society, making a more interactive government, or key steps to involve more people in wanting to chase after green energy, for example. You build this like an interactive continuous improvement program, and you're going to get a lot more ideas, a lot more people excited about pursuing the future. You're going to have a workforce ready to make these pivots as soon as the technologies are becoming ready. And also, students will be able to see how to succeed at these cutting edge levels rather than always have to learn about how somebody else succeeded after the fact. You can kind of see it happening with this model built the right way. And so CVO Strategic Pivot, Joint Chief of Staff for Cyber Force, The president also gets network contracting abilities, and the Fortune 500 board will look at different network strategies that are very popular in the economy, and they'll try to build a model for how these brands can work together. And the different brands will have proposals, and this will all get sorted through. We'll figure out a way for it. The president will be able to make modifications, choose different bids that they want to see, but the private sector will be getting this ready for the president as we're having our election cycles. It's a great team chemistry to do that. And so there's the network contracting to talk about the successes. The successes as we pursue next steps, we need to do that. We want to make sure we're talking about the successes. And the president can partner. It's a great partnership. It's a great strategy to have the president partner with the private sector and talk about our success stories here. That's why I have Workforce Heroes, The Apprentice, and Shark Tank at the top of this page, because they are useful business strategies for how you can highlight contribution to different organizations. And finally, we have the CHI program. So we talked about this complex insurance for bailouts and shutdowns and how that can be used as a strategy for paying down the national debt. While you're building this fund, an alternate to just handing out grants and having the government give out grants is you build what I call the CHI program. It's the continuum of human innovation, and I like to call it that because I'm trying to tie this to promoting different cultures, and you keep the chi centered, if you've ever heard of that. And it's this esoteric principle that binds the universe together. It's semi-spiritual without it being necessarily framed as God. It's more of we all collectively comprise this unique force and we're tied together through it. And so that's how I understand Qi in Chinese philosophy. And so I'm trying to make this a global organization. And so the continuum of human innovation is very important. We focus on the solution development, and if you're a business, honestly, you're building this fund to try to work on the national debt, and when we're making really good decisions as a nation, there's more money that can be used. If you're a big business and you can give people a little bit of money through this program, divide money through the population, now people can invest that. Maybe it's only $1,000 per person, right? But each person gets $500, $1,000 each year, and they get to try to invest that. We're talking about industrial policy. Such a huge percent of politics is campaigning on industrial policy. You can build a really, really cool way of building sort of a 401k or Roth retirement plan into how Social Security works, sort of. It wouldn't necessarily have to be directly tied to Social Security, but it effectively would be, because it would be for retirement, technically. But you can make it such that people can draw money from that after investing for 5 to 10 years, and then you can pull the money out. But that's better than just having grants, because now you get the whole population to chase after understanding the solutions that are being developed, which means you're building more skills in the workforce, which means we will have a more talented workforce and we will accomplish more as a civilization. And so it's valuable, it's worth it to businesses to do that little bit of investment in the population and build this alternate tax strategy so that you can try to develop more talent in the workforce. And yes, people, if they can choose the company that they want to invest in for different industrial policy goals, they will do their research to see which company is probably going to succeed most or grow fastest. They're all going to be incentivized to do that. And so everybody, by design of how we have our government, is going to be learning more about how this all works in so many different areas. And so we will have fewer arguments, and we will be developing more critical thinking skills as a society, in addition to having a tool set where we can sort through who's really trying to understand things, where the misinformation is coming in, because people aren't, I personally believe the misinformation is coming from people who aren't trying to do the work to understand something, and they're too hyper competitive at times, or they have different reasons why they just don't want to work with the other side, and it ends up setting us back. And so those are the presidential privileges. This is what we want to do with the organization, is have it's an extension of a government. And you don't want it to be a standoff between these two pieces. You want to have a lasting partnership that really makes sense and allows us to accomplish new things, and this will do that for us. Thank you.